One of the first things an inventor should consider when he or she comes up with an invention is whether or not it's going to work. You can spend an awful lot of money on prior art searches and patent applications, and that money is going to be wasted if it turns out that your invention doesn't work. So one of our first suggestions is that you consider prototypes. There are three basic types of prototypes, starting with a proof of concept, going to an integrated design, and ending with a production prototype. A proof of concept prototype is just as the name implies, it's proof that your idea works. Proof of concept prototype is where most inventors start, and for many inventors this is the only type of prototype they ever need. Usually takes a day or so of engineering time to get an average prototype together, and the cost can be anywhere from a few hundred to a few $1,000s for most simple mechanical inventions. You can use a proof of concept prototype to prove to investors that your idea works, and you can use it to sell your licensing rights to certain types of industries, such as a manufacturing plant. If, however, you want to make the product yourself and sell it to a retail outlet isn't going to want to look at a handmade prototype not in packaging. They're going to want to look at something a little bit more special. So, proof of concept, they're useful for proving the invention works, but they won't be a perfect sales tool for every type of potential buyer of your invention. The next level of prototype is called an integrated design prototype. An integrated design prototype is a prototype that proves that you can mass produce this item. Now obviously you had your proof of concept prototype, probably made by hand. Now you don't want to make every one of your products by hand, so you have to prove that your method of mass manufacture is going to work. As a result, integrated design prototypes, they take some more engineering time, a few days of engineering time, and often they'll require you to set up at least a mock-up of an actual production line, so there are considerably more costs with an integrated design prototype. If you're approaching a manufacturing company to license out your intellectual property rights, they may be interested in seeing an integrated design prototype just so they get an idea that this can indeed be mass produced. The last level of prototype is called a production prototype, and this is a prototype that comes right off of an actual production line. So with a proof of concept, you're saying it works. With an integrated design, you're saying I can mass produce it. With a production prototype, you're saying, and everyone that comes off the assembly line is going to look just as pretty as this one is. Production prototypes are often used when you're approaching retail buyers, because the retail buyer is going to want to see what the final version looks like. How can you get a prototype made? Well, first you go to a company that makes prototypes. A prototyping company can make the prototypes through a variety of means. One is stereolithography, where you have a tray in a vat of liquid photopolymer, and you have a laser that's computer controlled, which basically sketches out a 3D rendering of the invention. As the tray goes down, the laser will actually solidify some of the liquid photopolymer, create a hard physical object. Now, the stereolithography can produce some very pretty parts that shows the function of an item and shows where it would fit and shows what it would look like. The parts tend to be very brittle, so you can't use them for hard physical experimentation. You can also hand machine a prototype. This is obviously not the way you're going to mass produce them, but you certainly can make something by hand just to prove that it works. Another way to make prototypes is silicon molding. With silicon molding, you put the object that you want to duplicate in a vat that you then fill with silicone. You cut away the silicone, and the silicone makes a mold into which you pour some sort of a plastic or something like that. Generally with silicon molding, you can get 15 or 20 runs out of each silicon mold, so it's a great way for making small quantities of mechanical parts. These are just a few of the ways that prototypes can be made. The way that your prototype is made will depend upon a number of factors, including whether it's a mechanical or electrical invention, what kind of materials you want to use, and what's the best technology available.